Where is he? Do we see him?
You do not. While the cavern is lit up by the magical lighting shining off of George's armor, their voice is echoing throughout the cavern, and it's impossible to tell where it is coming from. For all you know, they might as well be invisible. Joe, your weapon of warning is glowing and humming furiously. Evil cackling fills the chamber as you all look around to try and find where it might be coming from. I'm going to ask everyone to please roll for initiative.
Oh man, this is getting spicy. Want to guess what I rolled? A 4 on the biggest fight of the campaign. Some things never change.
I got a 23. Time to put this new rod to use.
I rolled an 11. I'm kinda scared. I don't like spiders.
I got a 15. Show yourself, you coward.
Fuck, I rolled a 7.
Barak, you're up first. There's nothing out of the ordinary at the moment, but you can tell that the voice is within this chamber.
All right, I'm going to use my action to cast Armor of Agathis on myself to give myself 10 temp hit points to prepare for the worst. Icy armor coats my body as it shields me from the blows that will most likely be traded here soon. I'm going to use a feature I haven't used yet intentionally. I'm going to use Awakened Mind to telepathically talk to the party in their minds to say, "Don't be alarmed, this is Barak." I'm fairly certain the Black Spider is using magic to hide himself. I don't have any spells that can disrupt the magic that is cloaking him, but we need to bring him out and ruin his element of surprise. That's all I'm going to do for my turn.
A chittering comes from the ceiling as a giant spider leaps down from above and pounces on you, Joe. Its attack crits against you. I'm going to ask you to roll a Constitution saving throw, please.
I already don't like this. That's a 19 on the con save, boss.
The giant spider sinks its fangs into you, and you take a whopping 9 piercing damage and 4 poison for a total of 13 damage in total. The black spider's laugh fills the chamber as a green light flicks to life in the corner of the room. The flame skull from earlier begins to rematerialize from its shattered remains as it lets out a howling scream.
Hey, Black Spider, how about we make a deal? I give you all my friends and I get to leave?
2 more giant spiders leap down from the ceiling. One lands in front of Barak and George as the other lands directly on top of Droop. Droop, please make me a strength saving throw, please.
Oh noes, I don't like this. I rolled an 11.
The giant spider knocks you prone and attempts to bite you with advantage. It sinks its fangs into you, just like it did to Joe, dealing 9 piercing damage. Go ahead and roll me a con saving throw to see how badly the poison gets you.
Ah, shits, I rolled a 4.
You take an additional 9 poison damage for a total of 18 damage dealt. You also notice that your pack is a lot lighter than it was before. Your box holding the dragon egg has been ejected from your pack and sits in the middle of the fight. The lid opened. The egg is peeking out from its frosty home as cold vapor pours from the container. I will also need a concentration saving throw, DC 10, to keep your hunter's mark up.
No, use leaves my baby alone. I rolled a 12 on the check.
Barak, the other giant spider goes to attack you. It makes contact, dealing 5 piercing damage to you. I'll need a con save from you too.
I got a 12.
Then you take only an additional 4 poison damage for a total of 9 damage.
That doesn't break my armor as 10 cold damage is dealt back to the giant spider. Do I need to make a concentration saving throw for my hex even though it didn't take actual damage?
Yes, taking any damage, even if it's temp hit points, requires a saving throw.
Okay, I rolled a 10.
Exactly what you needed. You maintain concentration. Shivering cold strikes back at the giant spider. Cold ice crystals envelop the spider as it lets out a nasty hiss in pain. Joe, it's your turn.
I'm going to stab at the spider boy who bit my ass with a mighty squaw! I roll a 17 to hit for 5 piercing damage with an additional 6 from sneak attack for a total of 11 piercing damage.
You stab into the creature and it lets out a scream, ichor spewing all over the cavern floor. Though it's not enough to take it down, the acrid smell of poison fills the air as you likely ruptured a poison sac within the giant spider.
Take that, you 8-legged freak! Stabbed you right in your poison hole.
A 4th giant spider descends from the ceiling landing in front of George and Barak. It lets out a loud hiss as it goes to attack George. George, you easily block its fangs with your shield and are able to push the beast back slightly. The cackling continues, almost seeming, as it is, moving around the chamber and taunting you as the spiders do their worst against you. Droop, it's your turn.
I'm going to spend half my movement to stand up and use a bonus action to use Nimble Escape to disengage from the big spider who landed on me and drop down into the dried channel, but make sure I have line of sight of the spider that is on Joe. I line up a shot with the spider that landed on Joe and yell out, "Weez needs to focuses them down ones at a time." I rolled an 18 to hit for 11 piercing damage, and an additional 4 from Dread Ambusher for a total of 15 damage.
Want to tell me how you kill it?
I just wiggle out from under the spider I'm under as it goes to strike at me. It misses narrowly as I yell out what we need to do, and just Apex Legends slide into the channel, letting loose my arrow, and it just goes right through the giant spider's skull as it was getting ready to lunge down on Joe for another vicious blow.
I give Droop a big thumbs up and say thanks, buddy.
Awesome. That spider falls down limp to the ground, letting out a defeated hiss. The voice echoing in the chamber goes, "You got lucky, you little whelp."
I yell out, "Fucks you bitches, use just mads, I got some thick dicks," as I pull another arrows out of my quiver and get ready for my next turn.
The black spider lets out a frustrated yell as you emasculate him. Don, it's your turn. There is a giant spider to your south within threat range. You will have disadvantage on ranged attacks because of this unless you can find a way to get away from them.
I've been thinking about what I'm going to do. Ben, can I use multiple sorcerer meta magics in a turn? I've got something that might work if you say yes.
I don't think rules as written says you can. However, I will allow you to do it so long as you use the necessary sorcery points for all the meta magics you are going to do.
Dope. First, I'm going to use my action to disengage from the spider douche and get to a safe point where I can use 2 sorcery points to do Quicken Spell to make Chromatic Orb into a bonus action. Then I'm going to spend another point to make it into a twinned spell. I'm going to be targeting any of the wounded spiders first, then the Flame Skull. I'm picking acid for my damage type. Motherfucker, I rolled an 8 to hit on the spider, but I crit on the one going to the Flame Skull. I deal a total of 18 acid damage to the Flame Skull. We should have remembered to sprinkle holy water on this thing.
All right, George, it's your turn. You are surrounded on 2 sides, a giant spider to your south who was wounded by Barak's armor of Agathis, and one to your north that is unharmed, both of which are in threat range.
Now is the time to do it. I'm going to attack the one to my south and spend a spell slot to do a Divine Smite with Talon. That is a critical strike against this spider baby. That is 13 slashing damage and 19 radiant damage from my Divine Smite. Do I kill this thing, Ben?
You definitely do. Go ahead and describe it.
I leap into the air to try and go for the head of the beast and successfully land it. As I leap, Talon burns bright hot with holy energy as I let out a vicious yell as I plunge it into the spider's carapace. The spider effectively explodes from the hot holy energy as bright light breaks it apart into a million little pieces.
That happens. Freaking awesome. Barak, it's your turn. George is right next to you, but there is a giant spider just to your north within your threat range.
I don't think any of us have a way of pulling the black spider out from his magic that is hiding him. I'm going to drop a shatter on the spider you mentioned, but have the range of the shatter to try and hit some empty areas and try to potentially get our big bad evil guy in the blast range and potentially reveal him by dealing some damage to them. I want to make sure I don't hit any of my allies with my spell. That's 10 thunder damage with a con DC 14 saving throw to take half instead.
You send out your shatter, and the sound echoes through the cavern and causes all your ears to ring in pain. The giant spider to the north of you fails its save and takes a total of 10 thunder damage from your blast. You also hit something else. The previously invisible drow reveals themselves. Although they saved from your shatter, it was enough to break the magic concealing them. They stand just beyond the giant spider to the north of you, Barak. He gives a sneer and says, "I guess I need to step in and take care of things personally." The Flame Skull now takes their turn. It starts to scream and laugh in a high-pitched screech that sounds like nails dragging on a chalkboard as it launches a fireball directly aimed at all of you besides Droop, who would be safe in the dried channel.
Ben, before you roll for damage, I would like to use my reaction to do something a little unconventional.
What did you want to do, Don?
I just texted it to you. I want to describe it if you're okay with it.
Oh shit, yeah, that's fine. I'll need an acrobatics check first to see if you do it.
Fair enough. I rolled an 18 on that acrobatics check.
What in the hell are you going to do, Don?
That makes it. Go ahead and explain, Don.
All right. I notice that the Flame Skull is starting to wind up its fireball. I let out a sigh, then turned to Joe. I'm standing near Joe and notice he's pretty wounded from the battle. I look him in the eyes and say, "You fucking owe me for this, bitch." I leap into the air to intercept the fireball while holding up my staff of defense and casting shield. A bright blue and white magical shield covers the front of my body as it makes contact with the fireball, which explodes and causes the blast to stay on the other side of the shield, protecting all of my friends. The shield shatters and sends me flying back and hitting the cavern wall, taking me down instantly. I take the entirety of the blast's damage, and I'm incapacitated.
Whoa, what the fuck, Don?
Bro, that was totally badass and squaw of you.
Your sacrifice won't go in vain, Don. We'll see this battle end swiftly. Just hang in there and we'll get you up.
What's happened? I can't seize out of the channels. I am 2 shorts.
after Don made a potentially life-threatening sacrifice, shielding you all from a devastating fireball. It is now the giant spider's turn that was to the south of Joe. With only 2 spiders left, this one is looking fresh. It goes to strike at Barack and digs his fangs into him, dealing 11 piercing damage. Please roll me a con saving throw to see how badly the poison gets to you.
That's a 19 on the con saving throw. I want to also say I still have temp hit points up. That means this spider takes 10 cold damage.
Roger. You successfully save the con save and take 4 more poison damage for a total of 15 damage. Your armor of Agathis shatters and the last of its magic strikes back at this spider, dealing 10 points of cold damage to it. It lets out a painful screech and chitters angrily at you for the magic that evades its simple beastly mind. Joe, we're back to you.
I look bewildered at the sacrifice that Don made, hoping he's still okay. I focus on the task at hand and go to attack the giant spider next to me that is within the threat range of George and Barack. That's a 14 to hit for 10 piercing damage and an additional 7 from sneak attack for a total of 17 damage.
That's enough. Want to say how you do it?
I quickly run under the spider and bring up my weapon and gut it from underneath and slide out the other side of it. Its guts fall out under it and just collapses to the ground in a mangled mess of guts and gore. With the pathway clear of enemies, I point my rapier towards the black spider and say, "Hey, fucko, you're next." I'd start running if I were you.
The black spider puffs out his chest and says defiantly, "I am Neznar, the black spider. I will not be defeated so easily." He holds up his staff and points it to you, Joe. The top of this black adamantine staff is shaped like a spider. Magic erupts from the tip of the staff as he casts a second-level magic missile at you, Joe. All the darts hit you, dealing 15 points of force damage.
Holy crap, that almost took me down.
Neznar gives a smirk at that comment as it is now Droop's turn. Droop, you're in the dried channel, and above you, you see the flame skull, smoke and fire billowing from its mouth as it has just launched a fireball.
I'm going to shoot that stupid skull. First, I'm going to mark it with Hunter's Mark as a bonus action, then shoot an arrow at it. That's a 24 to hit for 7 piercing damage and an additional 6 from Hunter's Mark for a total of 13 damage.
The skull sustains the damage, but is still active. It now turns its gaze to you, Droop. Deep, hot hellfire burning in its eyes as it prepares another attack, this time towards you.
Guys, if any of yous is alive, helps. This thing is gonna cooks me.
Don, it's your turn, but you are unconscious. Your wounds start to seal as your periaptive wound closure does its magic. You are stabilized. However, you have a vision while you are unconscious. You feel as if you're still falling. After you hit the wall, you crash to the ground and look up to see the great hall of a luxurious castle. You're surrounded by mounds of gold, magical trinkets, fine silks, and gems. Everything you would have ever wanted, and more. As you stir, you try to reach out for these things, but every step you take, the floor begins to stretch, taking your goal 2 steps further away. For what seems like hours, you try to collect your prizes, but they are just out of reach. The need for the treasures fills your soul with desire, as it is always just out of reach.
Well, that's dumb.